Welcome to Open BXRx on BronxNet. I'm your host, Sonyi Lopez, inviting you to get social with us at BronxNet TV on Instagram and Twitter, and BronxNet Community Television on Facebook. Also, if you're watching us on cable, you can continue to stay up to date with our on-screen social media feeds, providing the latest COVID-19 community updates and important headlines. The 2020 New York Democratic primary is scheduled to take place on Tuesday, June 23rd. What are we voting for locally here in the Bronx? How has COVID-19 affected our voting process? And what is an absentee ballot? Joining us now to help us through this and more are Bella Wang, Voting Reform Chair, and Patricia Manning, Board Member at League of Women Voters New York. Hi, ladies. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Great to be here.
First, I just want to learn generally about League of Women Voters, the New York chapter. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, sure. So the New York City chapter is actually one of the oldest local chapters of the League of Women Voters. So we've been around for, I think, 101 years now, which is a year older than the national chapter. We're really about just enabling voters to do what they do. So that involves voter education, voter registration, but also advocacy for issues of good government.
Thank you, Bella. And Patricia, can you tell us about some of the challenges that voters face? No, actually, why voting matters, especially right now in the Bronx and nationwide, really, right now.
Oh, it matters so much because of the new laws and what's going on. We certainly need leadership that can guide us through this. Voting is so important. People should take it more seriously. It's your voice. People need to understand that when you vote, you are really taking the responsibility of your civic duty, and it's a real obligation. It brings in the resources to the community. It matters so much. Local, federal, state, it matters so much. It's very important. And the League of Women Voters has been very instrumental in trying to boost the vote registration in the Bronx especially. I lead a team yearly. We go to the schools, we go to the different organizations, nonprofit organizations, libraries. Just before the COVID hit, we were at Truman High School. This was during Civics Week, actually, and we registered over 400 kids. We go to Manhattan College. We go to the different high schools. We go to the libraries, and we try to, to really express how important it is. Everyone who is able to vote should be registering to vote. Hopefully, with this COVID virus, the people who aren't comfortable going to the polls will hopefully have requested and received the absentee ballot.
Right. Thank you, Patricia. Bella, can you tell us about some of the challenges that voters are facing through COVID-19 and how the League is fighting to ensure that elections are safeguarded?
Yeah, so obviously with COVID-19, there is just the glaring health and safety issue of crowding at polls. It is a space in which lots of people are touching a lot of objects traditionally. And so there have been concerns, I think, throughout the country, as well as in New York, that this is a difficult situation for a year in which we're expecting, high turnout. And one thing I think that we come to realize at the League is that a lot of the issues that we our sister chapter, the League of Women Voters in New York State, work very closely on issues involving election reform. And one thing we've really come to realize is, a lot of the things we've been fighting for this whole time have actually been crucial. So one thing, for instance, that we have been really fighting for years now is the ability to vote absentee without an excuse. And it's something that I think in previous years, usually you have to say, I'm out of town, I'm caring for somebody, I'm sick, I have some specific reason that I can't vote. Could I get an absentee ballot? That's what you typically have to do to apply. And, it's been something that's been something we've been pushing for because it's useful for voter access. There's always all sorts of situations are not normally covered in which someone might want to vote absentee. And this year we've shown that it's actually a health issue, a health and safety issue across the country. And so we have really taken up the issue of absentee ballots as well as, other things that are related to sort of voter protection and voter protection, voter safety, and also enfranchisement in order to kind of use this moment to push those priorities and show that they're important. Now, as it happens, and we can talk about this in a second, the governor signed an executive order to expand the number of excuses accepted for absentee ballots to include a general public health concern for this upcoming election only, so only for June. So if you are merely concerned about catching or spreading COVID, you can now say that that's a reason that you'd like to request an absentee ballot. And so at this point, what we're really trying to do is, now that we've sort of nailed down some of the details that are necessary in order to cope with COVID for elections, we're really now focused on educating the public and making sure that everybody knows about these changes.
Right. Let's dive deeper into the absentee ballots. So several folks have been receiving them via mail on these sheets that you have to fill out in order to apply for an absentee ballot. Can you guide us through these pamphlets that are arriving? How can people acquire one and submit them? What are the deadlines that we should look out for?
Great. So there was an executive order to send a mailed version of an absentee ballot application, not the ballot, but the application. I actually have one here. It comes in a cool envelope that says absentee ballot application enclosed. Inside there's self-addressed stamped envelope, or rather not self-addressed, but a stamped envelope, and the ballot application. So that's been sent to every household mailing address that is officially listed within the Board of Elections for all Democrats in the state, as well as any Republicans that might have a competitive election at this time. So if you are registered with a party, so you can't be non-registered, you can be, if you are registered but not with a party, you won't get this. This is only if you are registered in a competitive election or in a district with competitive election, you will get one of those. If you're out of town, you're not going to get one because it's going to go to the mailing address that's listed in your voter file. So that's why you got it in the mail. If you didn't receive it, there are other options. The easiest thing to do is apply online. nycabsentee.com, that's nycabsentee.com, has a portal for all New York City residents, so not outside of the city, but also city residents. By city, I mean the 5 boroughs, can apply for an absentee ballot and say specifically the reason is they want a ballot that they can submit by mail rather than having to go in person to their polling sites. And that they want to do it in order to maintain public health. You can also call, email, fax the Board of Elections. The contact info for that is at vote.nyc, which is the Board of Elections site for the city. In terms of deadlines, I have it written down, so I'm going to open that up. So in order to get an absentee ballot, you have to send in via one of the methods I just mentioned. The easiest is, either online, or if you got the application in your mail, you just fill it out and put it in the envelope and mail it. You have to postmark it or apply using whatever method by June 16th. So that's a week before the election. You can also apply in person at the Board of Elections office, which is also listed on that website, vote.nyc, by the day before. So if you need to do that, you can. But at that time, so the deadline is June 16th to apply. You can also, during that period, also vote early if you want. So,
thank you, Bella. Patricia, can you also chime in and talk about the upcoming elections that are happening here in the Bronx, defining the seats and their duties, and all that good stuff that we should know at this point?
Well, basically, we have a pretty amount of people that are running the different seats. They include, we have congressional. We have, people forget about the judges. We have the judges from the civil court. Yes. We have the assembly. We have the state senator. And of course, the president is on the primary as well. However, there's some of these assembly districts where it's they're highly contested. I think in the 16th congressional district, of course, you have quite a number of candidates running. They're all important positions, and so people really, really need to pay attention to the candidates running, make sure that they are expressing and, presenting what they feel is needed in our government. So just pay attention and read up on them and learn about, what their programs are all about.
Yes, the importance of voter education, right? In my district, District 15 here in Mott Haven, that's South Bronx, that's a packed race. So there are about 12 candidates postulating themselves for Congress. And, you know, the importance of voter education is coming up even more because of how dense that race is, how big, how many candidates there are in that race. Can we also talk about voter education and the Vote 411 tool available at LWVNY's website?
Bella, I think you're more
Yeah, happy to take that one. So actually, vote411.org is the website for the Vote 411 tool. So it is just a great resource. You can go there, enter in your address, and find out what's on your ballot, as well as any information that may have been submitted to the League of Women Voters about any of those offices or those candidates. So it covers, you know, all the big races, so president, Congress, Senate, Assembly, all that stuff. But in some cases, there will also be local information about local candidates. And this is actually like a collaboration effort, I should say. So it's our national league, as well as I think we collaborate with Rock the Vote in order to provide registration help through Vote 411. So it's great it's a portal for voter registration, finding out what's on your ballot, finding out who the candidates are, and just all you really have to do is enter in your address, or if you want to use the voter registration, it's there to look up as well.
I love it. I've used it in the past. So I really appreciate the Vote 411 tool. And I really suggest that folks go to vote411.org in order to find out more information on their candidates. And thank you to League of Women Voters for collaborating with other organizations to bring that to our constituents, to people in the borough. Just some final closing messages to the community so they can get engaged in voting this upcoming election, how folks can stay up to date with LWVNYC, and some voting information, how to donate, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so we keep our website pretty well updated. It's not the most up-to-date looking, but it is very up-to-date in terms of quality and content. So it's lwvnyc.org. If you would love to donate, we are, you know, I think like a lot of other organizations, struggling a little bit in this time, just in terms of fundraising. And we are doing a lot of work that we could really appreciate your help with, in terms of remote outreach for the census, remote outreach for voter education. There's a lot of work that we'd really appreciate your contribution. And the link for that would be lwvnyc.org/donate.
Thank you both, Bella, Patricia, for your time today and for giving us a little bit of information, or a lot of information, in the regard of primary elections.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Thank you.
For more information on voting rights, upcoming elections, and other issues, you can visit lwvnyc.org. And you can also follow at LWVNYC on Instagram to stay up to date. Open BXRx will be right back.